Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive, brought to you by the fantastic folks over at the OtisWho network.
The one's always in the know about what's hot right now.
Exactly. They're on top of it all, and you know, today we're kind of tapping into a trend.
Yeah.
It's not really about like the latest gadgets or anything.
Yeah.
It's more about like some good old-fashioned financial wisdom.
Kind of going vintage with our financial advice today.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got this BuzzFeed article
Interesting.
where older adults are like really spilling the tea on their biggest purchase regrets. Like, it's almost like they're handing millennials and Gen Z
Yeah.
a cheat sheet for, like, dodging those financial face plants.
Right. Like they're saying, hey, we did this and you really shouldn't.
Yeah, been there, regretted that.
Exactly.
So think of it as a guide to, like, smarter spending decisions.
Well, and what I think is really fascinating about this is like how many of these regrets are
Yeah.
stem from this kind of desire for instant gratification or
Well,
keeping up
certainly.
appearances.
Sure.
It's like a lot of these were driven by emotions and not logic.
Totally. And so let's get into some specifics.
Yeah.
One thing that popped up over and over again was extended warranties.
Oh, yeah.
These were practically public enemy number one.
Yeah, and for good reason. I mean, statistically, most people never actually use them.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You're much more likely to pay for that warranty and never need it than to actually use it to cover a repair.
So what's the smarter move than just like cross your fingers and hope for the best?
Well, not exactly, but think of it this way. Instead of paying for an extended warranty, what if you set aside that same amount of money
Okay.
in a separate savings account?
Oh,
You're essentially self-insuring.
I like that.
That way, if something goes wrong, you've got the cash on hand to fix it, and if nothing breaks,
Yeah.
well, then you've got a little nest egg.
That's brilliant.
It puts you in control,
Much better strategy.
rather than relying on a warranty that might have tons of loopholes.
For sure. And speaking of feeling in control, the article also took aim at whole life insurance policies.
Yes, the financial product that often sounds better than it is.
Right.
Many people are lured in by the idea of building cash value while having that life insurance coverage.
Yeah.
But the truth is you often end up paying a much higher premium for that investment component.
Okay.
And the returns are typically pretty lackluster compared to what you could achieve just by investing on your own.
So it's not necessarily like a scam,
Right.
but it might not be like the most efficient way to grow your money.
Exactly. Now, term life insurance, that's a different story.
Right.
You're purely paying for death benefit coverage for a specific period of time. It's generally much more affordable.
Gotcha.
And then you can take the money you saved and invest it in something with potentially higher returns, like index funds or ETF.
Okay. That makes a lot more sense.
You're getting the coverage you need without getting bogged down in this complex financial product,
Yeah.
like choosing the right tool for the job.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's shift gears from insurance to something a little bit more tangible.
Okay.
Stuff we buy.
My favorite.
The article had a lot to say about resisting sales hype and avoiding trendy fashion.
Oh, those two are definitely related.
For sure.
It's all about recognizing that retailers are constantly trying to create a sense of urgency,
Mm-hmm.
scarcity to get you to buy.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, those limited time offers
Right.
and must-have trends, they come and go in cycles.
They do.
There will always be another sale.
Oh, yeah.
Another trend.
Always comes back around.
Right.
So how do you resist that temptation to jump on the bandwagon, especially when everyone on social media seems to be rocking the latest look?
Here's a tip from one of the older adults. Before you buy something on sale, ask yourself,
Okay.
would I still buy this at full price?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And if the answer is no,
Yeah,
you're probably just getting caught up in the hype.
that's going on my fridge.
And when it comes to fashion, consider investing in well-made, timeless pieces that you can wear for years.
Okay.
Think quality over quantity. You'll end up saving money in the long run, and you'll develop your own personal style
That makes sense.
that transcends fleeting trends.
Absolutely. All right, so now we got to talk about the elephant in the room, new cars.
Ooh, yes.
The older adults in this article did not hold back on this one.
They came out swinging, and I think they bring up a crucial point that shiny new car might look great in your driveway,
Yeah.
but it is a depreciating asset from the moment you drive it off the lot.
Yeah.
It's literally losing value as you're making those monthly payments.
Okay, so break it down for us.
Yeah.
What is the difference between an asset and a liability?
Absolutely.
Because I think that's a concept that a lot of people get confused about.
Yeah. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket,
Okay.
either by generating income or appreciating in value over time. A liability, on the other hand, takes money out of your pocket.
Okay.
It costs you money to own and maintain.
So a house could be considered an asset because it appreciates in value, and you could potentially rent it out for income.
Exactly. And that new car,
Yeah.
it's a liability because it depreciates and you have ongoing costs like insurance, gas, and maintenance.
So what's the alternative to buying a brand new car? I mean,
Right.
we're not all going to be riding horses to work, are we?
Not unless you want to.
No.
But seriously, consider buying a reliable used car.
Oh,
You'll save a ton of money up front, and that money you saved could be put towards those assets that actually appreciate in value,
okay.
like investments or even a down payment on a house.
That's a really powerful point.
It's about shifting your mindset from instant gratification to long-term financial well-being.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's move on to a lighter topic.
Yeah.
The article had some interesting things to say about single-use kitchen gadgets.
Yes.
You know, those things that promise to make your life easier,
Right.
that end up cluttering your drawers.
It's the siren song of convenience.
It is.
But the older adults in this article, they're urging us to resist the allure of those specialized gadgets that only do one thing.
Yeah, one person specifically mentioned a waffle maker.
Oh, yeah.
They said it was cute,
Yeah.
but ultimately ended up gathering dust in a cabinet.
Classic example
Yeah.
of a want versus a need. Do you really need a dedicated appliance for making waffles?
Right.
Or could you achieve the same result with a good old-fashioned pan?
Okay, so ditch the waffle iron, got it.
Here you go.
But what about other kitchen gadgets? How do you know which ones are worth the investment?
Think about versatility. Instead of buying a separate appliance for every culinary task, invest in tools that can multitask.
Okay.
A good chef's knife, a sturdy cutting board, a high-quality pot and pan set.
Okay.
Those are the workhorses of your kitchen.
They're like the classic little black dress of the culinary world.
Exactly.
They never go out of style.
Never go out of style. And they can be used in countless ways, saving you money and space in the long run.
Okay, so we talked about warranties, insurance cars, and kitchen gadgets.
We've been busy.
What other financial wisdom did these older adults have to share?
Well, this next piece of advice is less about a specific purchase and more about a broader financial mindset.
Okay,
They're urging younger generations to avoid going into debt to impress others.
this is a big one.
Huge, especially in the age of social media, where
Yeah.
everyone's always trying to portray the perfect life.
Oh, yeah. It's easy to get caught up in that comparison game
It is.
and feel pressured to keep up with the Joneses.
Right. But here's the truth. True friends won't care about your material possessions,
Yeah.
and no one is impressed by debt.
So true. One of the people in the article even shared that their biggest financial regret was buying a new car instead of investing in property.
Oh, wow.
They said that $20,000 invested in real estate back then would be worth 10 times that amount now.
It's a stark reminder that prioritizing short-term gratification over long-term financial security can have lasting consequences.
Yeah, it's like choosing the flashy outfit over building a solid financial foundation.
Yeah.
One might get you likes on Instagram,
Right.
but the other sets you up for a more secure future.
Exactly. It's about making choices that align with your values and long-term goals, rather than chasing fleeting trends or trying to impress people who probably don't even care.
Okay, so we're starting to see some common themes here. Avoid impulse buys.
Yes.
Think long-term and don't let your ego dictate your spending habits.
Right.
What else should we be wary of?
Well, this next one is something I think a lot of people have strong opinions about, and the older adults in this article are no exception. Timeshares, often pitched as this like dream vacation solution,
Right.
but they can quickly turn into a financial nightmare.
Yeah, the consensus in the article was like a resounding avoid at all costs.
For sure.
But what makes timeshare so problematic?
Well, for starters, you're essentially buying the right to use a specific property for a limited time each year.
Okay.
But that ownership comes with a hefty upfront cost and ongoing maintenance fees that can increase over time.
So you're locked into paying for a vacation spot.
You got it.
Even if like your plans change or you find a better deal elsewhere.
Exactly. And that's not all. Timeshares are notoriously difficult to resell.
Ah.
So if you decide you don't want it anymore, you could be stuck with it.
Wow.
And those ongoing fees for a very long time.
Like a financial albatross around your neck.
Right.
Definitely not the kind of souvenir you want from a vacation.
You're much better off saving your money and booking vacations as you want them, giving you that flexibility and control over your travel plans.
Okay, so timeshares are a no-go.
Big no-no.
What about home warranties? A lot of people see those as a way to protect themselves from unexpected repair costs.
I understand the appeal, but the older adults in this article have a different perspective.
Okay.
They argue that home warranties often involve lengthy delays, repairs with used parts, and a whole lot of fine print that can make it difficult to actually get coverage when you need it.
One person shared a story about their AC breaking down.
Oh.
During a heat wave with a newborn baby at home, they said it took weeks to get a repair person out, and the warranty company tried to give them a refurbished unit instead of a new one.
That's a nightmare scenario.
It is.
And it really highlights the potential downsides of relying solely on a home warranty.
So what's the alternative? Just hope that everything in your house runs smoothly forever.
Well, no one can predict when a major appliance might break down.
True.
But instead of paying for a home warranty, consider setting aside a monthly amount in a dedicated home repair fund.
Okay.
That way, if something does go wrong, you have the cash on hand to fix it without having to deal with the hassles of a warranty company.
That's a smart strategy. It's like taking control of your own home maintenance destiny.
Right.
Speaking of homes, the article also had some interesting advice for anyone considering buying a fixer-upper.
Yes. The dream of transforming a diamond in the rough into your dream home.
Right.
It's a tempting prospect, especially in a competitive housing market.
Yeah, but the older adults are cautioning against underestimating the costs and time involved in major renovations.
They're speaking from experience. One person said they thought they were getting a steal on a fixer-upper, but they ended up pouring way more time and money into it than they ever anticipated.
Yeah, it's easy to get swept up in the excitement of a project
It is.
and overlook the potential hidden costs. Like what if you uncover mold behind the walls or discover the plumbing needs a complete overhaul?
Exactly. Those unexpected surprises can quickly turn your budget into a disaster zone.
So are they saying to avoid fixer-uppers altogether?
Not necessarily. If you have the time, the patience, and the resources to handle potential surprises, a fixer-upper can be a great way to build equity and create your dream home.
Okay.
But it's crucial to be realistic about the scope of the project and factor in a contingency fund for those unexpected expenses. Don't just focus on the cosmetic stuff. Make sure the foundation, the roof, and major systems are in good shape.
It's like they say, don't judge a house by its pretty facade.
Right?
You've got to look under the hood before you commit.
Absolutely. And speaking of commitment, here's another piece of advice that really resonated with me. Don't buy a house unless you're absolutely sure you want to stay put for a while.
They were calling a house an anchor
Yes.
that can tie you down geographically, but isn't home ownership part of the American dream?
It certainly can be. But it's important to remember that a house is a major financial investment and a lifestyle choice if you value flexibility, and the freedom to move around renting might be a better option, at least for now. One person showed a story about buying a house at 3, only to realize a few years later that they wanted to travel the world and live in different cities. They said dealing with tenants and managing their property from afar was a huge hassle.
It's like that saying, you can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
Right.
Except in this case, it's your mortgage holding you hostage.
It's a clever analogy, and it underscores the importance of aligning your housing choices with your long-term life goals.
Okay, let's move on to a topic that can be a major source of financial stress, especially for younger couples' weddings.
Ah, yes, the celebration of love that can sometimes turn into a financial free-for-all.
The older adults in this article are really challenging the pressure to have a lavish wedding, pointing out the financial burden it can create. One person even went so far as to call the wedding industry predatory.
And they make a valid point. The wedding industry often thrives on creating a sense of urgency and playing on people's insecurities to convince them to spend a small fortune on things they might not even need or truly want.
Like, what are some of the things couples can cut back on without sacrificing the joy of their special day?
Well, for starters, consider a smaller guest list. Do you really need to invite your third cousin twice removed or that colleague you haven't spoken to in 5 years?
Quality over quantity, that applies to guests too, I guess.
Exactly. And you can also get creative with the venue instead of a fancy ballroom. Think about a park, a museum, or even your own backyard.
And one of my favorite pieces of advice from the article was the cost of the ring does not equal the amount of love.
That's a powerful reminder to prioritize the meaning of the celebration over external pressures.
Right? It's about celebrating your love and commitment, not putting on a show for other people. And speaking of things you don't need to put on a show for other people, let's talk about formal wedding china. This one came up a few times in the article as a major source of buyer's remorse.
It's the quintessential example of a purchase that often ends up gathering dust in a cabinet People feel obligated to register for it, but then they rarely, if ever, use it.
Yeah, one person said they finally got rid of theirs after 21 years and had only used it a handful of times.
Oh.
What a waste of space and money.
Exactly. If you love fine china and plan to entertain frequently, then by all means go for it. But if you're more of a casual dinner party kind of person, skip the formal china and invest in everyday dishes you'll actually use.
Okay, let's shift gears from weddings to something a little more down to earth, literally swing sets. This one is relatable for any parent who's ever been tempted to turn their backyard into a mini amusement park.
Yes. The backyard staple that promises endless hours of fun. But as many of the older adults in this article pointed out, kids' interests change quickly, and a swing set can quickly lose its appeal.
And then you're stuck with this giant, bulky structure taking up valuable yard space. One person even complained about having to mow around it.
It's a valid point. So before you invest in a swing set, consider the long-term practicality. Maybe a smaller, more versatile play structure would be a better option. Or get creative and find other fun activities that don't require a permanent fixture.
You know, sometimes the simplest things are the most fun anyway. A cardboard box can provide hours of entertainment for a kid with a good imagination.
Absolutely. And it's free. Speaking of saving money, let's talk about another financial pitfall that can be tempting, especially around the holidays. Store credit cards. You know those ones they try to lure you into signing up for with a discount on your purchase?
Oh yeah, those are dangerous. I've definitely fallen for that trap before. The initial discount seems like a great deal, but then you realize you're stuck with high interest rates that can quickly negate any savings.
It's crucial to understand the terms and conditions of any credit card offer before you sign up. Don't let that initial discount cloud your judgment. If you can't pay off the balance in full each month, those high interest charges can really add up.
One of the older adults in the article put it bluntly. They'll have you regretting that decision for months, if not years to come.
It's a stark reminder to be cautious about taking on any kind of debt, especially for impulse purchases.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. We've talked about everything from insurance to swing sets to credit cards. Is there anything else we should be wary of before we wrap up?
Well, there's one more topic that came up in the article that I think is worth discussing, although it can be a bit sensitive. One of the older adults expressed concern about the impact of readily available pornography and OnlyFans subscriptions, particularly on young people.
It's definitely a complex issue, and I think, we want to approach it with sensitivity and respect for diverse viewpoints.
Absolutely. But I do think it's worth, considering the potential impact of this content on relationships, self-image expectations.
Yeah, it's important to have open and honest conversations about these issues and to be mindful of the messages that we're consuming
Right.
and how they might be influencing us.
Exactly. Now, shifting gears to something a little less controversial, the article also had some interesting insights into the allure of designer items
Right.
and this whole pursuit of status symbols.
Oh, yeah, that never-ending quest to keep up with the Joneses.
Right, but what's the takeaway here? Are they saying we should never buy nice things?
Right.
Not necessarily if you can afford it and it brings you genuine joy.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with treating yourself to something special,
Okay.
but it's important to examine your motivations for buying. Are you buying it because you truly love it and it aligns with your personal values? Or are you trying to impress other people or project a certain image?
One of the people in the article shared a story about buying a bunch of designer items on eBay
Oh, wow.
and later realizing it was a complete waste of money. They said they were chasing a feeling of validation
Right.
that never materialized.
It's a powerful reminder that true happiness and fulfillment come from within,
It too.
not from the things we own.
It's about investing in experiences, relationships, and personal growth,
Yes.
not in fleeting trends or status symbols.
Exactly. Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier about resisting those tempting store credit card offers.
Oh, yeah. Those are tricky.
Yeah.
They get you at that initial discount, and then you're hooked. But I'm trying to be more mindful of my spending habits these days and just avoid unnecessary debt.
That's great to hear. And it leads perfectly into another piece of advice from the article that really resonated with me. One of the older adults said, and I quote, "Stuff does not buy you happiness. Your in-person relationships, doing things with the ones you love is what's important."
Wow, that's a powerful statement. It's so easy to get caught up in that cycle of wanting more stuff, but ultimately it's those intangible things that bring true happiness.
It's true.
Spending time with loved ones, creating memories, pursuing our passions. Those are the things that truly enrich our lives.
Absolutely. And it ties back to this theme of conscious consumerism that we've been discussing throughout this deep dive. It's about making choices that align with our values and prioritize experiences over material possessions.
It's about recognizing that true wealth is not measured by the things we own, but by the richness of our lives and the connections we forge with others.
Well said.
You know, it's funny because we often think about financial advice in terms of dollars and cents.
Right.
But this conversation has really highlighted the emotional and psychological aspects of spending.
It's true we make purchases for all sorts of reasons, not all of them rational.
Yeah.
Sometimes we buy things to fill a void, to seek validation, or to fit in.
Yeah, it's like we're trying to buy our way to happiness, but it rarely works that way.
Exactly, and that's why this advice from older adults is so valuable. They've lived through those cycles of wanting and acquiring, and they've come to realize that true happiness comes from experiences, relationships, and personal growth, not from accumulating stuff.
It's a reminder to focus on what truly matters and to be mindful of the messages we're bombarded with in our consumer-driven culture.
Now, speaking of being mindful, the article had a few more nuggets of wisdom I think that are worth sharing. One person specifically called out the habit of spending hundreds of dollars a month at Starbucks.
Ouch, that one hits close to home for a lot of us.
It does, and they weren't necessarily saying that Starbucks is bad, but rather that it's important to be aware of how much we're spending on things that might not be truly essential.
It's like, are you really enjoying that $7 latte? Or are you just buying into the image or the convenience?
It's a question worth asking ourselves before we swipe that credit card. Now, here's another piece of advice that I thought was brilliant. When you're looking at online reviews for a product, skip the 5-star and 1-star ratings.
Really why I always thought those are the most helpful.
Well, think about it. The 5-star reviews are often from people who are either overly enthusiastic or maybe even got a free product in exchange for a positive review. And the 1-star reviews, those are usually from people who had a really bad experience and are venting their frustration.
So you're saying the truth lies somewhere in the middle.
Exactly. Focus on the 3-star reviews. Those are usually from people who have a more balanced perspective. They can point out both the pros and cons of a product, giving you a more realistic picture of what to expect.
That's such a good tip. I'm going to start doing that.
And finally, this last piece of advice from the article really sums up the essence of this entire deep dive. One of the older adults said, think long-term, buy quality, and prioritize experiences over stuff.
That's a mantra we could all live by.
It really is. It's about making choices that align with our values, our long-term goals, and what truly brings us happiness. It's about investing in ourselves, our relationships, and our experiences, rather than getting caught up in that endless cycle of consumerism.
Well said, and I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've covered so much ground today, from the pitfalls of extended warranties to the allure of designer goods, and it all comes back to making mindful and intentional choices.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that financial freedom is not just about accumulating wealth, but about living a life that is rich in experiences, relationships, and meaning.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the financial wisdom of older adults. We hope you've gleaned some valuable insights that will help you navigate your own financial journey.
And remember, it's never too late to start making changes that will set you up for a more secure and fulfilling future.
Until next time on The Deep Dive, keep learning, keep growing, and keep questioning the status quo.